So this is the army I'm bringing to take on Dave at MiniWargaming for our game that we've got scheduled. He's going to be playing as Krix, and I'm going to be playing these Trollbloods. So we'll go quickly through what I brought, and then I'll break it down unit by unit and the tactics I'm hoping to be able to use, or the theories I'm trying to work out. So start off with my Warlock. I'm bringing Madrak Ironhide. This is just the standard one, not the epic. And that's the Warlock that comes with the Trollblood starter box. He's being accompanied by 2 light Warbeasts. Both the Impalers from that box set are coming along. This one will look familiar because that's the one I've been painting in my tutorial as part of this Box-to-Battle series. The Axer from the starter box, which is right over here, he is not making an appearance. I ran out of points, and I'll explain sort of my justification in a little bit. So for the 2 light Warbeasts, we've got the Impalers, and then for the heavy Warbeast, I'm bringing the Dire Troll Mauler. After consulting a few people locally that play and reading online, the Maulers seem to be the best choice based on what we're doing here and based on my tactics. So, and then I'm also including a unit of Kriel warriors. So it's only the squad of 6, which is the guys back here and the leader, and they're being accompanied by a standard and the Piper, which add a few extra skills. And then I'm bringing 2 solos, bringing the Fell Caller Hero, which from everything I've read he's almost mandatory for just about any Trollblood list for all the buffs that he provides, and also Janessa Stone Tide, which is the other solo I'm bringing, and she has a couple cool things which I'm going to go into. So I'll start off. We'll sort of break it down on what the guys do, and then hopefully what my tactics are going to be. And we'll take it from there. So I'm going to start off by looking at the Warlock. The one I'm bringing is the Madrak Ironhide from the starter box. So he's just the standard one. It's a nice looking model, good sculpt. I'm still in the middle of painting it, so it doesn't look quite where I want him to be yet. But so just a couple things of note. He's got both a melee and a projectile weapon, both being his big axe there, the Wrathrock. It's a magical weapon and has reach when it's in melee, so it gives you that 2-inch attack range, which is nice. A couple things of note: both the thrown axe and the regular axe have critical grievous wounds, which is great if you're playing in hordes. I think against War Machine it's not as great because it talks about the models lose tough, which I'm sure they're in both, but cannot heal or be healed or transfer damage for 1 round. I think transfer damage is something that's unique to War Machine, or to hordes, not War Machine. Comment below if I'm making any mistakes and if I just haven't read the book correctly. So, but overall, from what I've read, he's supposed to be a really good starter Warlock because he deals with letting it make mistakes on a regular basis, and he comes with a couple really good spells. The Carnage spell gives all friendly faction models within his control area +2 to their melee attacks. So that's as long as they're in the model's control area as well. It's not an upkeep spell. And then Surefoot as well. It basically gives +2 to the defense to a model and cannot be knocked down, which is great because we don't want to see our guys knocked down. Also, anyone within 3 inches of the targeted model gets the same ability. So you can create a little bubble where one guy's in the middle, like put Surefoot on this guy, and then everyone who's within 3 inches gets the same benefit. So they're not being knocked down, which is great, and that +2 to defense, which always helps. And his feat is Crusher, which basically means while in his control area, all the friendly faction models get overtake. Additionally, they get, if the model destroys 1 or more enemy models in a melee attack, it gets to move up 1 inch and attack another one. So this really seems like if you're playing a number of troops or units, be good against Warjacks. I'm not sure. I guess he could if you're lined up properly, where everything's sort of lined up. I know in the few games I have played so far, everyone was more than 1 inch away from anyone else. So if I popped the feet, I really wasn't going to gain much advantage there. So, but overall, great starter one. I'm looking forward to using him. Next up, we'll look at the Impalers. So there's 2 of them, and so the Impalers have the thrown spear, which is great, and it's a power 4, but with the strength of the impalers, it brings it up to 13. Gives them reach. I opted for the impaler over 2 impalers over the impaler and axer combo, because the axer is actually 6 points and the impalers are 5. By replacing the one axer with an impaler, it let me take a different solo, so I was able to get 1 more point of solo, so that was why I opted out for this. So, nice thing with the impaler, it does have the animus of Far Strike, which basically, it's like, it basically gives a +4 to the range of the weapon. So, in this case, the spears are going to have a 12-inch range, which at this point, if I can get a better range out of it, I think that's going to help, especially if I can do some damage. And it also has a critical hit, where if you roll a critical, it winds up pushing back the model, being slammed D6 inches away from the model, and suffers. And potentially, I believe it also knocks them down. When you're slammed, you're knocked down. So, any chance to prevent any of those guys coming at me, I'm going to be happy with that. And of course, I mean, that really the only projectile weapons I have are the 2 impalers and then Madrak's throwing axe. So I don't have a lot. So, and the one thing I've been looking into, and I believe you're able to put an animus on yourself. So if I had this guy way over here, and I wanted to make sure he could do Far Strike, I can actually cast the animus on myself. So that's sort of my plan, where I don't have to necessarily keep these 2 guys too close together. So, and then lastly for the Warbeasts, we've got the Dire Troll Mauler, and he's got an impressive stat card with the big meaty fists. So it's a power and strength of 16, which is pretty good. And hopefully can take out some jacks with that. He also has the Rage Animus, which gives him a +3 strength. Or you target any faction model within 6 inches, and you get +3 strength. So if I can cast it on myself, you're looking at 19 plus 19 strength on those big meaty fists. And like most of the Warbeasts, there we go. You get regeneration, so they can be forced to heal D3 damage points once per activation. So you can, if you're taking a number of hits on the chart, you can just fill those back up D3 at a time. And the big meaty fist, the chain attack, which is grab and smash. So you get an option if both of the fists hit. So both these guys hit at the same time, you get to do a free move, which is basically either a double-handed throw, headbutt, weapons lock, push, or any of these moves to basically just get rid of the guy that's in your way, which is nice because you can potentially push them out of the way and keep moving, or free yourself up, or put them to where someone else can do damage, where these guys could do damage if they needed to. So those are the Warbeasts. The synergy I see, or the buffs I see here, more are the Surefoot on these guys so they can't get knocked down. I mean, the Far Strike Animus works better on these guys. I mean, and also the Rage one can work on any of these at this point as long as they're into melee. So, okay. So on to the troops. I am bringing a squad of Kriel warriors, and this is just the squad of 6. So you can actually bring up to a squad of 10. But I only bring in the 6. And it's the 5 warriors plus the leader. Now they all have the same stat. Now they do have, like all trolls, have the tough rule, which basically means if they're going to be removed from the table, a 5+ roll will give them they stay on the table with 1 wound left. So it's a nice thing that the trolls have. They can always go. I call it the feel no pain, or at least the new feel no pain for the trolls. They have the combined weapon or melee attack, which means that it's because their melee skill or their math skill is only 5, which is my understanding is average. You can boost that by teaming a couple guys up, and they add +1 to the roll. So in this case, if he has a mat of 5, normally if 1 or 2 of these guys come up, they'd add 1 or 2 to that roll. So you can give a better chance of hitting if you want to team up some of these guys. Also, they have, which is really, I've in my previous games has been quite helpful. They have what are called prayers, and prayers are basically ability to provide special or buffs. So there's 2 prayers they have, which is Fever, which is affects the model, gains +2 to attacks and damage rolls during this activation. So +2 to the rolls definitely helps. Or Swiftfoot, which means they gain 2-inch movement this activation. So the way I envision this is going to work is I'm going to Swiftfoot to get them, run them up, get them up into combat or in close to combat as quickly as possible using Swiftfoot. As soon as there's a chance there's going to be any melee, you can put on the Fever prayer, and that'll basically make sure that they get the +2, so that definitely helps it. And if you do that with a combined attack, you could potentially be +2, +3, +4, depending on what you're doing. So, and I've also added, these 2 guys here are the unit attachment, the Standard and the Piper. Basically, a nice looking models. I haven't finished painting this, but this one has a little guy. I'll wait for the autofocus to catch up to it here, but he has a little guy on his shoulder, and then you've got the Standard, and they look really nice. So again, they've both got Tough. The Standard Bearer grants Steady, which means the models play. The unit is gains steady, meaning that they can't be knocked down. So basically, there's no chance of these guys getting knocked down. So if you go against Signar with their Earthquake or anything like that, you're not going to have to worry about that. The Piper basically expands the command range by 3 inches, and also has Take Up. So if something happens to the Piper, they can just someone else can take over and continue that skill. So the way I sort of envision this is, and then there's some buffs I'm going to wind up getting from the solos as well, but these guys can buff themselves with the prayer, and that definitely will help. And again, if worse comes to worse, if these guys are up in combat, and for some reason, no, I shouldn't be, but for some reason the Mauler's not in there, you can wind up giving him the Mauler Animus, assign that to them, and hopefully help that out. That was the Rage Animus. So I guess, and hopefully it would never be a case where you'd need that, but it's nice to know you have that as well. So that's the Warriors. And then lastly, I'll just push these guys back rather than stopping the video. I'm bringing the Fell Caller hero and the named solo Janessa Stone Tide. Now, from everything I've read, I don't think I've seen anyone do a list. From all the lists I've looked at, there's very few lists they don't include the Stormcaller. And I mean, basically, if you look at his stats, he's got Tough, he's got the Weapons Master, which basically means he gets a +1 on his damage attacks, and he's a leader as well. I believe that's what the cross symbol for. If it isn't, I should have looked that up before I started the video. But comment below if you can tell me what that is, just so people who are watching the video will be able to see it. Where he really comes through is his calls. So I guess it's this funky horn he's got on his back. So basically he has 3 of them. Overcome, basically within a 5-inch range, all the target warrior model or unit is in range. They came Pathfinder. Pathfinder's handy because you can go through terrain, anything like that without any movement, so it allows you to move quite quickly. So if I'm the way I envision is I'm going to partner the Fell Caller up with the warriors. So if there's any trees or any terrain I want to get through, I can just plow them through as quickly and getting them into the combat is quicker than if you're having to deal with the terrain. Revel, knock down friendly units in this model's command range immediately stand up. Basically, now this really is pointless because of the Piper, the Standard basically preventing these guys from falling down. Not a call I'm going to use. The other one is War Cry, where it's a range 5 target friendly faction warrior model is in range. They gain +2 to their attack rolls this turn. So this is where things start adding up. So if I've got a +2 on my melee attack, plus +2 to my melee for my prayer, plus if I'm doing combined melee attack, I may be adding 2, 4, potentially 5 or 6 to my roll before actually rolling. So this winds up gives these guys the ability to hit harder or be more consistent with their hitting, which potentially would do more damage. So that's what I'm looking at these guys doing, getting in there, getting these buffs going, and just wind up just hacking the enemies away. And if you lose a couple of them, it's not going to be a big deal because you've still got more than there. So one thing I was reading just recently about because he's got the the Sword Master is he does get that +1 to his attack. So when he charges, he normally gets, or to damage, sorry. So when he charges, he gets normally gets 2 dice +1 for charging. He's rolling 3 dice, but because he's a Sword Master, he actually gets that additional dice. So you're rolling 4 dice for the damage. Now, granted, the sword's only a power strength 10, but still, when you're adding 4 dice, where you figure the average is going to be about on 4 dice is going to be about 12, 13. That's still significant. You're hitting 22, so you can do some. Unless you're going up against a really big heavy jack or heavy Warbeast, you can still do some damage. And lastly, I've got Janessa Stone Tide. And this one, actually, it took me forever. In the area where I live, none of the stores had it. And I went downtown Toronto and had to dig around and finally found it at the very top after going through about 40 or 50 blisters looking for it. So I was quite happy to I finally found this. And she is a Rune Shaper character solo. So she has tough as well. A magical weapon, which is the pickaxe, or the Earth Splitter as it's called. From what I can tell, pretty standard speed, strength, rat, defense, and armor for a troll. The one thing, the Earth Splitter is a magical weapon, which is great. Strength 9. Now it does have the armor piercing on it, which is a special attack, which basically halves the armor stat for models of medium or large bases, which winds up doing good damage. So you figure if you're going up against a jack with an armor of 18, 19, 20, you're bringing that down to 9 or 10. And with a strength 9 weapon, you're almost doing even dice for damage. So that's a nice little bonus to get there. But the reason I'm bringing her, and the reason I really like, and again, there may be other benefits that I'm missing, but the ones that really stuck out to me was the wall of stone. So basically, you place a wall template anywhere complete within 5 inches of this model, where it does not touch the model's base, an obstruction, or an obstacle. The wall is a linear object that provides cover. So the idea is, or my plan is, when I have cases and I don't have a wall portion that's appropriate size that I know of, so I'll use a little bit of foam. So the idea is, if I have her sitting here, and then we'll say a Warjack's coming in at her, and we'll say we'll use this one here, I can throw up the wall. Again, it's not very good, and that will prevent a charge. I want to prevent, if he's too close, it won't prevent him from attacking, because he's the Lancer, or the Warjack here has reach. But the idea is that I can block it. I can at least block them from charging in and being able to do the damage and preventing it. So it really helps me control some of the lanes of assault and prevent people from coming in where I don't want them to. So that's really that's primarily the reason I'm bringing her into this game. There may be other benefits from her, and again, I think the armor would be great if you can get into combat. There's the Rock Hammer, which is a magical weapon, which is AO3 power 14, which I think that'd be pretty good, I guess. I hadn't really looked at that one, but again, I sort of had a one-track mind with the stone walls, or wall of stone. So that pretty much brings me to a conclusion of what I'm bringing, why I'm bringing it. The one thing, just to go back quickly, the reason I didn't bring in the Axer is I wasn't able to bring in, with the Axer and Impaler, I was 1 point over the 25, so I wouldn't have been able to bring one of these guys. I would have had to bring in the Stone Scribe Chronicler instead in one of them, but I really wanted to bring both of these solos in for this game against Dave, so that's why I went with it. So comment below if you think what you think this list is going to do. Once the game from Dave and I is posted, I'll let everyone know, and I believe I'm going to be doing the Rules You Got Wrong video for that one as well. So if you have any comments or suggestions or anything like that at the end, feel free to throw them in there. And that's it. Thanks.